Small intestine meridian of hand Taiyang. Small intestine meridian starts from the fifth finger of the front leg and goes up lateral to the front leg, and it will once go inside the elbow but will go outside again. Then it goes up to the shoulder and to the neck and finishes at the front of the ear. The key acupoints are SI1 on the fingertip, SI5 on the wrist, SI8 on the elbow, SI9 on the shoulder, and SI19, the last acupoint. First, we'll look into the acupoint that is below the wrist. On the lateral side of the fifth digit, at the base of the nail, there is SI1. Then you go up along the fifth finger on the outside, and when you bump into the metacarpal phalangeal joint, you locate the acupoint SI3 on the proximal side. Then you go further up along the fifth finger and get SI4 distal to the carpal joint, which we also can say proximal to the fifth metacarpal bone. Next, on the wrist at the very outside, there's a lump called stylo process. Caudal to the stylo process, there's a depression, and it is the acupoint called SI5. This is the left front leg. This is the fingertip of the fifth digit. You take SI1 at the base of the nail. And on the outside of the fifth finger, you go up and find the metacarpal phalangeal joint. And on the proximal side of the joint, there's a depression, and this depression is the acupoint SI3. You go further up along the fifth finger, and proximal to the carpal joint, there's a depression, and this depression is called SI4. Okay, let's look at the acupoints using a real dog. First acupoint is SI1. On the fifth finger at the lateral end, at the base of the nail, you have SI1. Next is SI3. HI3 is at the metacarpal phalangeal joint. Metacarpal phalangeal joint is in between the metacarpal bone and the fingers. Proximal to the joint, there is a depression, and that depression is SI3. Then you go along the outside of the fifth finger, and at the proximal end of the fifth finger, at that depression, you have SI4. Now let's draw a line from the wrist to the elbow. The first landmark acupoint on the wrist is SI5. And the acupoint on the elbow is called SI8. The pronunciation of this acupoint in Chinese is very similar to that of HT3. SI5 is located at the styloid process, distal end of the ulna, where the bump is. Caudal to the stylo process, you have SI5. Going up, there's the acupoint SI8. Caudal to the medial epicondyle of the humerus, which looks like as if it is located outside of the arm, but it is actually still inside the olecranon. It is the point between the olecranon and the medial epicondyle of the humerus. Therefore, this acupoint is not on the outside, it is still in the inside at the back. This point is hard to see because of the color, but just think that this acupoint is located inside at the back. And then connect SI8 and SI5 on the wrist. Then on that line in the middle, SI5 and SI8, there's the acupoint SI7. And one cen above SI5, there's the acupoint SI6. It is one cen above SI5 and in between the ulna and the radius. SI5 is on the wrist in the depression caudal to the stylo process. Then connect SI5 and SI8. SI8 is in between the olecranon and the medial epicondyle of the humerus. It is located right at the back. Then on the SI8, SI5 line, right in the middle, there's the acupoint SI7. In the middle of the line, there's SI7. And one cen from SI5 in between the radius and ulna. In between radius and ulna, there is SI6. One cen above SI5, in between the radius and ulna is the acupoint SI6. SI5 is at the distal end of the ulna at the stylo process. It is at the depression caudal to the stylo process. And the small intestine SI8 is in between the olecranon and the medial epicondyle of the humerus. There's a depression here, and this is the small intestine meridian SI8. And next we'll connect S18 and SI5. In the middle of this line, you have SI7. And one cen above SI5, in between ulna and radius, there is SI6. One cen is the width of the patient's ankle. On the ankle, there is a bone called the carpal, and the width of the carpal is considered to be the patient's one cen. Therefore, one cen above SI5 is this much above and it will be in between the radius and the ulna. Here is SI6. Okay, next, small intestine meridian goes inside and then outside again. Then it goes up outside of the humerus and then runs through the 3 acupoints, SI9, SI10, and SI11. First, we'll go over the acupoints around the shoulder joint. We'll find the caudal line of the scapula. Once you find the caudal line, then you find the shoulder joint. SI9 is 1/5 from the shoulder joint. Next, we'll find SI10. This is the scapula. This is the scapula spine, and this is the acromion. SI10 is the depression close to the acromion. And at the caudal border of the scapula, there is SI11. This is the shoulder joint. And this is the scapula. On the scapula, there's a ridge or a mountain running in the middle. And this ridge is called the scapula spine, and the top part of it is called the acromion. SI9 is on the caudal borderline of the scapula. It is 1/5 from the shoulder joint. Here we have SI9. We split this line into 5 and it is 1/5 from the shoulder joint. Here is SI9. Next is SI10. It is on the scapula, at the caudal end of the acromion, at the deepest depression along the scapula spine. Here is SI10. And on the caudal border of the scapula, right in the middle, there is SI11. Then the small intestine meridian goes up the scapula to the shoulder and then to the neck. At last it reaches the acupoint called SI19. It goes up the scapula to the neck and then to the face and then to SI19 at the front of the ear. SI19 is in front of the ear. Below the tragus, there's a notch. There's a bump on the ear called tragus, and cranial to the tragus, there forms a notch. And in front of the notch, there's a depression where you locate SI19. First, we will find SI9. Look for the scapula and then make sure where the scapula and the shoulder joint is. And at the caudal border of the scapula, at the back on this line, 1/5 from the shoulder joint, you'll get SI9. Above the shoulder joint, there's a acromion at the very end of the scapula spine. SI10 is at the very deep depression where your finger goes in between the scapular spine and the acromion. In other words, caudal to the acromion. It is just a teeny bit away from the acromion at the very deep depression. SI11 is on the caudal border of the scapula and is on the half point on that line. From SI11, it will go up above the scapula and then go to the back side of the neck, and then we'll go to the ear. On the ear there is tragus. There are 3 acupoints around the tragus. The acupoints are in the front, above, and below the tragus. Above the tragus there's an acupoint called TE21. This acupoint does not belong to the small intestine meridian. Below that is SI19. This acupoint belongs to the small intestine meridian. And below SI19 there is GB2. The little bump is called the tragus. And in front of the tragus there is SI19. The finger goes deep inside here. There are a lot of acupoints around the shoulder joint. One is on the border of the acromion, one is cranial to the acromion, one is caudal to the acromion. There are 3 acupoints around the acromion. The depression cranial to the acromion is LI15. And the depression caudal beside the acromion along the ridge is SI10. And depression caudal to the acromion is T4T. LI15, SI10, TE14. This is the shoulder joint. At the shoulder joint, there's the scapula. And the spine of the scapula forms the acromion. Cranial to the scapula, there's the acupoint LI15. Caudal to the acromion, there's the acupoint TE14. Caudal but close to the acromion, where there's the deep depression, is the acupoint SI10. LI15, T14, SI10. The shoulder joint is right here. On the shoulder joint, there's a scapula attached like this. And at the end of the middle line of the scapula, there's the acromion. Find the acromion, and the depression cranial to the acromion is LI15. The depression caudal to the acromion is TE14. And the deep depression close to the acromion is SI10.